Alright guys, well, it is time for another knife review. And this one's been heavily requested, and this knife has been heavily used, and I think it's finally time to do a review on it. This is the infamous Sanrenmu 710. Now this is one of the newer versions, okay, so this is actually showing as a 7010, and there's a bunch of different variants on this, but it's the same knife as the original. The original had the logo down here, and then 710 right next to it, whereas this one, it's on the flat part of the blade up top. But like I said, it's pretty much identical as we focus in there. All right, so first off, just some quick specs. Our blade here is an 8CR13 MOV. It is rock weld at 57, which is a little bit on the soft side. I found this to be actually a pretty good performing blade. I would say that this is just as good as any other 8CR13 MOV, an AUS 6 to AUS 8. It's actually pretty good. I kind of was expecting it to not hold an edge as long as it did, just because of the fact that it's generally rock weld at 57, which again is a little bit on the softer side of things, but it surprisingly held up great. No problems with it at all. About 2 3/4 inch blade. The overall length here open is 6.5 inches, and the weight on this is 3.21 ounces, okay, according to my scale. All right, guys, let's take a nice close look at this knife and discuss why this thing is just so darn popular. Ever since this knife came out, people have been talking about it, and it never died down. It's just as popular as when it first hit the market, and that's because this is known as the poor man's Sebenza. Now, a lot of knives have had that title. In fact, the first one I remember is the Bradley Alias. The difference between this knife and that knife is that that knife is similar in design. I believe Benchmade was making it for the company Bradley Knives. But that knife had quality. That knife was sporting S30V and titanium, just like the Sebenza. It was tweaked enough where it was different, but it still was very similar in a lot of ways, and was extremely popular because, again, the quality was there. Now, the big difference is the price was still high. It wasn't near, you know, a Sebenza, but it was still up there, out of a lot of people's reach. When this hit the market, okay, even today, it's about 10 bucks or less. That's right, $6, $7 in some places. I think you get it direct from China for like $15 shipped. Registered mail from China, all the way to the US or wherever else, you know, you may be buying it from. That is amazing. Now, that being said, considering this is a sub $10 knife, it's got to be the best $10 or less folder of its kind that I know of, okay? And I have a lot of experience with this knife now. I have a lot of experience with similar knives, obviously the company, other Sebenza ripoffs. This is really, really hard to beat. You have some minor details in quality on this knife that you don't get in $30, $40, $50, $60 knives, sometimes $100 knives. Something as simple as it being centered. You know, the small detail of this has a nice detent on there. Okay, really holds that blade in, so it's not going to shake loose. Also builds up enough pressure so you can flick this thing out nice and fast. I mean, sometimes you get, you know, pricey knives that just don't have these little details. The fact that this has a beautiful blade choil on the bottom, okay, makes sharpening nice and easy. That blade does come all the way to the edge. I've had many $30, $40 knives that were good knives for the price, but they didn't have these little details. You know, the fit and finish on this is actually really, really good. It's amazing that this is less than $10 most places. Now, the big white elephant in the room is the fact that, yeah, this is a ripoff of the Sebenza. It doesn't have a fake logo on it, so it's not a counterfeit knife, but they basically borrowed, or let's just put it on the table, they stole every design aspect of a Sebenza because it was popular, all the way down to the little detail here. Next to the finger choil, there's another little curvature, just like the original Sebenza. The way the top is angled, the bottom, I mean, just the whole thing. Now, of course, the materials aren't the same as a Sebenza. This is an 8CR13 MOV, you know, very mediocre. It has stainless steel handles. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not titanium. You know, Chris Reeve knives have gone through a slew of different steels over the years. I remember back when Sebenzas were BG42, which is an awesome steel. And then, of course, the very long run of S30V, and then now, what, S35VN, even better. So the materials are completely different. The fit and finish, however, is pretty close. I mean, no, it's not a Sebenza. A Sebenza is very, very hard to match or beat. Okay, very, very few knives have the same level of quality and the same, you know, I would say, production situation. You know, there's custom knives that are better than Savenzas because Savenzas aren't really fully custom knives. Some people still think that they're custom knives. They're not. They're a very high-end production knife. Basically, a lot of them are made, but every single one is paid attention to. You know, hand finished, hand fit, stuff like that. This knife is not made like that. There are way more of these than there are Savenzas, probably. I can make that a safe assumption. These are pumped out a lot faster and with less care. But that being said, if you compare this to pretty much any sub $10 frame lock, I have yet to find one that's made as well as this. Again, perfectly centered. The lockup is perfect on this. Again, it is a frame lock. I mean, there's no blade play in any direction. All right, find me a frame lock knife. You know, not made by this company, by the way. Let's put that on the table because obviously this company has a lot to do with this. But find me a frame lock for less than 10 bucks that doesn't have any kind of blade play. And this is after heavy use. I mean, I'm really cranking on this thing and I got nothing. No side to side, no up and down. It's amazing. Now, of course, inherently this has some downfalls being all metal. It's cold in the winter. Right now it's summertime, so I'm not experiencing that, but I've had lots of experience with all metal knives. In the wintertime, it gets very cold, and in a bare hand, it's uncomfortable to use after a couple seconds. There is some texturing in the front. It almost has like a skateboard texture, but not quite as aggressive. It does nothing for the grip. All right, when this knife is open, you know, your fingers are supposed to land there and supposed to keep it from slipping. It doesn't. This is a very smooth knife. There's not a whole lot of grip on this. Naturally, there is a finger choil built in. Okay, there is some jipping on the back, not very aggressive either. It's a slippy knife, I would say. It could be a lot worse, but it's definitely not extra grippy by any means. This is more for aesthetics than it is for function. Hardware on here is Torx. You can take it apart. I did take this one apart myself just to check it out. And by the way, this lockup, like I said, is perfect. That was before I took it apart as well. I didn't have to play around with that pivot or anything. Big oversized lanyard hole. So if you guys like your paracord lanyards, you can throw that on here as well. The pocket clip is tipped down. It is not swappable to any other position. Would like to see it tip up. Most people would. It's just kind of a preference in the knife industry, but it doesn't bother me all that much. The pocket clip does work just fine. No issues with it sticking in the pocket because it's landing on nice smooth steel here. Very easy to, you know, get in and out of the pocket. I don't really have any complaints with this knife. If you look at the back here, you can see that there's a couple standoffs. It is a complete open frame design. Very simple. Does not collect a whole lot of dust and stuff in there because it is open. A lot of times when you have your backspacers and stuff, you'll gather some lint, especially lots of pocket time. The blade design, although similar to a Sabenza, is different in that there's a very abrupt, straight swedge on here. It's not really, you know, it doesn't continue right to the point like you would get on most of the Sabenza blade profiles. So it is a little bit distinctive to this brand. But nice grind on here, nice and even on both sides. It's just very cleanly done. And for less than 10 bucks in China. Absolutely amazing. You know, it's no surprise that a lot of the major US companies, knife companies, are having, you know, certain knives manufactured over in China. You know, there's really something to be said about these knives made overseas these days. You know, in the 90s or so, I remember looking at knives and, you know, if it said Taiwan on the blade or China, forget it. You didn't even want it. You know what I mean? Right off the bat, you knew. That wasn't really a great quality knife. Now in 2015, doesn't make a difference what it says in the blade. You know, every knife is judged individually, and some of these knives made overseas are better than what we're getting made here in America. So it really depends. It's really a case-by-case situation when you're talking about quality. Wherever it came from means nothing, not like it used to. So, I mean, I'm really impressed with this knife. It's no surprise. It's very popular for a reason. So yeah, guys, I mean, it should be no surprise. I'm a fan of knives. Of course, I'm going to be a fan of this one. But actually getting it and using it, it's a little bit different perspective. Before using one of these, I basically went on what everyone else said, is yeah, they're awesome and they're cheap. You know, but once you actually get one in your hand, you can appreciate it that much more. What's really cool about something like this is these make excellent gifts. Fantastic gift knives. There's a lot of people out there that can use a knife, people in different professions like plumbers, electricians, maybe auto mechanics. I'll tell you a quick story. I had, it's a friend of a friend. It's this guy I barely know. It's my wife's coworker's boyfriend. And he's a mechanic. Super nice guy. And I remember having a conversation with him once and I said, you know, what kind of knife do you carry? And he's like, oh, I don't carry a knife. I'm like, seriously? You know, you've been a mechanic for X amount of years and you don't carry a pocket knife? I'm like, how do you cut things? And he's like, oh, you know, I find a way. I do this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna hook you up with something. I gave him something. I think I gave him a Gerber Easy Out. Not my one that I have in for my story time video. That one's very set on me. I had a separate one. Actually, you know what? I think it was the Gerber Gator. That's what it was. It was a Gerber Gator. Just kind of run-of-the-mill, decent knife, you know, not super expensive, not super cheap. And he can't thank me enough. He uses it all the time. So anyway, my point here is that if you're getting someone a knife as a gift, you don't always have to spend an arm and a leg on it. Unfortunately, I think that when people start learning about knives, they start learning about these companies like Spyderco and Benchmade, CRKT, and you know, they start getting stuck on different names, and they kind of relate a specific company to quality. You know, like Spyderco or Benchmade or SOG or Cold Steel or whatever. It doesn't matter what company it is. If you get a knife from them and you enjoy it and you find that, hey, that's a quality knife, that's a quality tool, in your mind you think, okay, well, let's say Benchmade, all Benchmade knives are quality tools. Not necessarily. I've had crap dud knives from pretty much every major knife company out there, and a lot of knife companies you guys probably never even heard of. Not every knife model is a winner, and not every knife is worth the price tag that they carry. But something like this is really, really hard to beat. So if you're considering getting a knife from someone as a gift and you don't want to spend 50 or 60 bucks not knowing if they're even going to use the thing, I would start with something like this. You know, for less than 10 bucks, it's really hard to beat. Now I can even compare this to, like, let's say the, you know, $20 knives, the K-Bar Doziers, you know, knives that I love that are still in like the $20 range, or the whole Bird line from Spyderco. They're the Bird knives, the Caracaras, you know, all that kind of stuff. Still very comparable to a less than $10 knife. This has the same quality, in my opinion, as those $20-something knives. So at this point, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm in love with this knife. It is an awesome deal. This is a big bang for your buck. People talk about that all the time. What's the best bang for your buck? This, right here. You're not going to find anything better. You're not going to find anything that's cheaper than this, that has better quality than this, for what it is. I mean, if you're comparing, you know, affordable sub $10 frame lock knives, this is where it's at. This is the best as it gets. It's absolutely awesome. I mean, what, 7, 8 bucks? What can you get for 7 or 8 bucks these days? You know, value meals out there are 8 bucks. You get a large number, whatever, from your favorite fast food joint and eat that meal and take a dump and lose it forever. Or you can spend that money on one of these and have it forever. And when you get tired of it, you can give it to a friend and maybe, you know, spark their interest in knives and the hobby. But yeah, I love it. I don't think I know anyone who doesn't like these knives. It's just a matter of how much experience you have with them. Something else I'll add in the end is that it is smooth. It doesn't like, I don't know how to compare it. It's not like some knives, you know, you depress the lock and the blade will swing and it's nice and super, super smooth, like, you know, an Axis lock or something. It's not like that. It's a little on the stiffer side, if you will, but it still glides. Not like a Sebenza, but it's still super smooth. And I love that big detent. I love that you can, you know, flick it out fast, or you can open it nice and smoothly. You know, it's just friggin' sweet. Seriously. But you knew that. If you clicked in this video, you already know about knives, and guess what? You already heard about this knife, and I'm not telling you anything new. You're just watching it because you love knife stuff. And for that, I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your time. Everyone's time is always valuable. And I thank you for watching my video. And now I encourage you to go out and watch all the other videos on this knife, because I'm sure there's tons on YouTube. It's an awesome knife, and I highly recommend it. So, hope you guys have an awesome day. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.